AEW Full Gear had over 10,000 people in attendance, and it was a solid pay-per-view. It had a couple good things, it had a couple bad things, it had a couple things that I just genuinely liked in general. There was a couple booking decisions I didn't necessarily agree with. There was a couple booking decisions that I absolutely agreed with. But we're not really seeing so much talk about these big angles or these big storylines. I feel like my algorithms, whether it's Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, it really is coming down to the Rizzler who had saved AEW. And I think that's a fascinating point to begin with, because on Ground Zero Hour, the pre-show for AEW, they had Big Boom AJ versus QT Marshall. And I don't know why, but I think people lump me in with like other content creators. But I've been saying like this was a really good partnership for AEW. I've been one of those guys saying like they should be doing this kind of stuff. I think a lot of people were really shocked to see that Big Boom AJ could actually wrestle, but he used to wrestle. So like, to me, I thought this was a no-brainer, right? You're having a pay-per-view. You're having an opportunity to get new eyes on your product. You got Big Justice. You bring in the Rizzler. I find it to be interesting, despite some of these other matches that took place, this is the one that is everywhere. This is the one that everybody is talking about. And I don't necessarily know if AEW did enough after that to attract potential new fans. I feel like this pay-per-view had its good moments. Now, first things first, my match of the night is Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay. I know some people are going to say it's Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander, which is completely fine. But I just think personally, watching this pay-per-view, Kyle Fletcher defeating Will Ospreay was really, really exciting. If you guys saw my prediction show, I wanted Kyle Fletcher to win. I felt like him winning would be a star-making performance, and I was really, really happy with that performance. I really loved the presentation for Kyle Fletcher, and I thought that was a really good booking decision. So that was actually my match of the night. Now, I think one of the biggest issues about this pay-per-view is that they had a couple good matches, they had a couple good booking decisions, but there's really nothing that truly gets me excited for AEW Dynamite moving forward. And I talk about this a lot with wrestling pay-per-views. It's really important that you end your pay-per-views in a way that makes it intriguing. And I know that a lot of people are going to bring up Darby Allin crashing the car, after the main event or whatever. Like, I know people are going to talk about that, but I don't know if that's a strong enough storyline for AEW. And I'm not saying this to be critical against AEW. There's just something about this aura of this potential storyline, or this storyline in general. I don't think it's resonating with a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people care for it as much as we'd like. And I think that's a problem for AEW. I think it's really hard to gauge and see what is working and what is not working. But Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy, I personally felt like was not a strong enough match to main event this card. I'm just being honest. And, I think there was a couple of letdowns, and I want to talk about it because, again, the talking point is the Rizzler. Why is the Rizzler the talking point? That was a match that was for free on YouTube, right? Like, that's the pre-show. Why is the Rizzler and Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall, like, why are these the things that people are talking about? I think that's kind of a negative for AEW, that the fact that, like, this is the talking point instead of some of these other great things that have happened on the show. So let me just tell you guys really quick what I didn't like. I did not care for Konosuke Takeshita and Ricochet. I think for them, I thought it was a decent match. I had a little bit higher expectations for this match. I thought this would have potentially been match of the night. I also want to point out, by the time that this match occurred, I think the crowd was absolutely tired, which I think is something I've been saying for a long time with AEW pay-per-views. Sometimes they are paced extremely well, sometimes they are not. AEW Full Gear was not paced extremely well, in my opinion, and therefore I think it was evident within the crowd reactions. That's why it wasn't that exciting of a matchup. I did not really care for MJF and Roderick Strong. I'm not a big believer in this storyline. I'm not a fan of this storyline. I don't really care about the MJF, Adam Cole, Roderick Strong situation. I just think the storyline at this point is like very boring. I feel like MJF, ever since the Devil storyline with him and Adam Cole, I just feel like things have kind of fallen off. I'm not really big onto this. I like both guys. The match was okay, but I just didn't really care for it in general. The tag team match, Private Party, The Acclaimed, Kings of the Black Throne, and the Outrunners. I liked it. I liked the tag team match. It went exactly as I predicted, and they're already teasing some dissension between the Acclaimed. That's what I predicted. That's what I was hoping for. I was pretty happy with that. I didn't like Deonna Purrazzo being on the pre-show against Anna Jay and losing in her hometown. I thought that was kind of dumb. Deonna Purrazzo was somebody who was in TNA, decided to go to AEW and get the money, and that was completely fine. But she hasn't really done anything in AEW. In TNA, she was a top star. So it just kind of goes to show you that she was somebody else that AEW kind of dropped the ball with. Jay White versus Hangman Page. Fun. That's cool. It wasn't bad. I liked it. Again, if you listen to my prediction show, I said Jay White absolutely needed to win. Jay White needs to be in the world title scene. As you guys saw in Full Gear, I think AEW made the right call with Kyle Fletcher and Jay White, and with Daniel Garcia. I think Bobby Lashley. Like, these are some booking decisions that were actually pretty good. I thought those were relatively smart, but those were the things that I wanted to see in the prediction live stream that I did. So Jay White being potentially in the mix for the World Championship, Jon Moxley, Christian Cage, Darby Allin, Jay White, Hangman Page. I mean, like, there's a couple people in there that are in the mix. I like it. Jay White needed a big win. I was happy to see that. The thing is, these were some good matches, and these were some good booking decisions, right? But when I say that the Rizzler saved AEW Full Gear, what I'm really saying is that even though AEW had some good booking decisions, I don't think they did enough to make more excitement or a bigger splash to get people excited about the future of their product. And that's because you have to do the good booking decisions more than once. You have to do it on a weekly basis, right? So this is not a criticism to AEW. This is more of saying AEW needs to keep doing stuff like that in order to get people invested. I know some people liked the main event. I know some people loved it. I saw on Twitter. I personally thought it was atrocious booking. I thought it was overbooked and chaotic for really no reason. Even though I like the idea of those people being involved, I don't like the way that they went about it. And I think to end the pay-per-view in that kind of manner, I don't think it gets that many people excited. Now, I'm a factual guy. I like facts. We'll see if it draws big attention to AEW for Dynamite, but I don't think it will. I don't genuinely believe AEW will garner any sort of major increase in their audience this upcoming Wednesday just based on how this pay-per-view ended. And I think that is largely due to the fact that AEW is in a situation where their pay-per-views could be really good and they could have good matches. They could have great feedback and stuff. But I think people are kind of know what to expect with AEW at this point, where television and pay-per-views are kind of like two different things. And listen, guys, I'm trying to be honest with you. I really feel like it was really, really cool seeing Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall. I thought, a lot of these booking decisions were relatively good, but I don't think any of these booking decisions that were good led to anything that makes me excited for the future of the product. And I think that's really due to the fact that AEW is struggling with bringing together a massive storyline that gets people bought in. Now you might be wondering, Ango, how do you fix that? Guys, I've been saying it for a long time. Baby faces. You need to have these super over baby faces in your company. And I mean, if you look at all these responses, who was the biggest baby face of the night? Big Boom AJ. He was the biggest baby face of the night. Big Boom AJ, the Rizzler, and Big Justice. So again, we're watching this pay-per-view mostly dominated by heels. The way to fix this, the way to get excited for people, it's the ultimate thing in wrestling. Watching that babyface get that big chase, right? We don't see that right now in AEW. There is all these heels are winning, and all of these big storylines that they do have with the Death Riders and stuff. I don't think people really care about Darby. I don't think people really care about Orange Cassidy in that way. I don't think AEW has given them enough momentum for people to truly get behind them. Let's say in comparison to WWE with Cody Rhodes, And I think AEW kind of needs something like that. It's not a bad thing. They can get there. Again, I thought the booking decisions were relatively good, but the talking point isn't really the storylines. The talking point is the Rizzler. And for that reason, ladies and gentlemen, the Rizzler saved AEW Full Gear.